Letting go and getting in the flow can be scary, but it can also be invigorating and exciting. In today's episode, let's explore the options and which direction you want to go. Let's go get that nugget. Welcome to Life Mastery Podcast. I'm Jen Mack, Lady of the Mind, your host, energy healer, and intuitive coach. This is where we learn to master our lives and ignite our spirit, one nugget at a time. Let's take a moment, in this moment, to just call our energy back. Breathing in deeply together through the nose, holding it at the top just for a second, and then releasing. Just release the stress, release the worries, release the problems. Calling back our energy is closing all of the mental tabs that you have open of all the problems, the to-dos, the worries. Mentally picture those tabs open and mentally picture yourself clicking the X on every one of those tabs. As all those tabs are open, you have energy strands coming from your body going out to those tabs. And I want you to call all your energy back right now in this moment. Bringing back that energy right into your heart space. Feel your body filling back up with your attention and your presence. You can even put your hand on your heart, feeling the energy, breathing in deeply, feeling the support underneath you, giving yourself a present, a gift of your attention in this moment. Breathe in, feel your feet on the floor, hold your breath at the top, and breathe out, and feeling your body sinking just a little bit deeper into the support underneath you. The past several weeks, as we have entered into the winter wonderland in northern Michigan, most of the energy around us goes inward. You know, it's kind of a natural state to go inside as, you know, the hibernation, and it's cold and nobody wants to be anywhere outside. And it's kind of exciting when you let go of the natural state of things. So I'm a part of a business program, and my coach is exploring these different ways to coach throughout the seasons. And I've talked about it a little bit in a couple different episodes, but winter is a perfect state to introspection, to go inward and to kind of explore what it is that you want to create. So it's like, if you think of, you know, the flowers and the trees, everybody kind of goes into this inner state of being, this calming state. If you look around, you know, there's less birds and less animals around. The trees have all lost their leaves. The flowers are kind of all gone underground, and everything is just kind of quiet, right? And it's kind of exciting when you see how the universe is revealing itself to us, and we start going with the way nature goes, that it creates this different flow. And so it's been a new experience for me. I am definitely one who wants to control everything and pushing and pulling things around to make things happen and to force things to happen. And I will tell you this, and we're going to talk about it here in a minute, that if you don't go, that creates more problems in your life than if you do let go. So there's two directions that we can kind of explore today in the episode is what happens when I don't go and what happens when I do. Now, in the very beginning, the little intro short, I said it can be scary to let go. I remember having a conversation with a coach a long, long, long time ago, and she's like, dude, Jen, you need to surrender. And I'm like, oh, hell no, am I doing that? Being in a vulnerable state to whatever is out there, whether it's people or my family or just the universe. No way. Like, I have to protect myself. I have to keep myself safe and away from harm. And it was a hard thing. Well, then as I rounded the corner into my 40s, I'm like, okay, wait a second. What's happening to my body? Like, why do I feel like I can't move as easily and I feel kind of stiff? Well, all of these are messages. Your body gives you messages. And so as I'm looking at, what's showing up in my life, and I've talked about this 1,000 times, but, I was really suffering some really weird, very debilitating back pain that would just show up out of nowhere, rendering me basically on my back for like 2 weeks. And it was extremely painful to be in this position. But I'm like, okay, let's explore what my body is trying to tell me. And so I looked at the pain and I'm like, okay, this is where it's at in my body. And that meant something as you relate that to the chakras and the location of why it's showing up, where it's showing up, and what kind of pain is it. And that was giving me, as I would use descriptor words, that was giving me hints about what was actually my thought process about life. So as I'm thinking of stiff, what's the opposite of stiff? Okay, flexible. Where am I not being flexible? I'm like, everywhere. There isn't any place in my life where I'm being flexible. And there is no place in my life where I'm letting go and let someone else, if you will, take control. It just wasn't happening. I'm a born natural leader, but that does not mean I have to try to control everything. So if this is you, please listen, open your ears, and really let this message kind of wash over you as you try to let go a little bit and go with the flow. Because if you're anything like me, it was really, really hard to do. And it literally just within these last good handful of months, I've been able to do that. And then I'm going to talk about in the second half of this is what happened when I let go. Now, if you are someone who is trying to control everything and really trying to force and push and pull things around in your environment, please let me tell you that is going to start showing some pain in the body. You have heard me use the analogy several times about the hose and the water, and it's connected to the spigot, and over there is the garden. And I just love this analogy because it is such a great way to really depict life in general. There's lots of analogies. I use them all the time. I really like using them because it gives us something to picture, but also something to parallel to our life. And so if the water is turned on and I'm trying to create this beautiful life and the sprinkler is over there in my garden and my garden is life, but I'm standing here kinking the hose, I am trying to control things. So when we are doing that and the hose is kinked, between the kink and the spigot, what is getting created right inside the hose? And you can pause it and answer, but it's pressure. And so when we start to kink the hose of our life and not allow life force energy to work through us, not allowing the universal energies to move easily, what we're doing is creating pressure, and that pressure shows up as pain in the body. If we do that enough, and we do that often enough, our body is going to feel it. First, it's just like some aches and pains. It might just be a headache, a little bit of back pain, a little bit of knee pain. And then it starts to go even deeper. It starts to turn into dis-ease. Now, what is the opposite of dis-ease? And you might say health. But in this podcast, the opposite of dis-ease is ease. If you write that word down and you hyphenate, D-I-S hyphenate ease, dis-ease, that means you are going against. What we want is our life to be not easy, but in the flow. Because here's what happens. When we get in the flow, life starts getting exciting. It starts turning and changing and shaping differently than if we are the ones controlling things. If I stand back and watch the river flow in front of me, and let's say it's flowing from left to right, it makes sense that if I get in the river, I'm going to go to the right. Because it doesn't make sense. Why would I go upstream unless I'm going to rescue something? But why am I going upstream? It's going to be harder. It's going to be exhausting. I'm going to get tired quickly. I'm going to get frustrated quickly. Now look at your life. Are you frustrated? Are you tired? Are you exhausted from living life? Then ask yourself, am I going with the flow in any single area? And if the answer is no, well, brothers and sisters, let's change that. Let's start going with the flow. So let's talk about what going with the flow does. Let's really explore what that feels like, and then I'll give you a few how-tos to help you start to let go and surrender. when I started exploring this was early, probably October or September, October, something like that. And when I started letting go and started just kind of saying yes more and standing back more, meditating more, setting the intention, and starting to use different words. Now, I have lots of episodes about words and language and how we talk to ourselves, and you can explore those probably within the last 20 episodes. And there's plenty of them out there. And there's even ones that are titled Why Your Words Are So Important, or Self-Talk, or How to Use Words to Create Your Life. Like, there's lots of them out there. But it really started to change how I looked at the day. And if I'm using different words that open up a different energy portal, if you will, then things can happen. So here's an example. So let's say I invite you to a party. I say there's going to be this really cool party, and let's say it's a costume party, and you can wear these masks, and it's supposed to be like this, whatever you call those ones where it doesn't matter. It's a party. And you go, why would I go? I'm not going to have any fun. Okay. I hate parties, or something like that. What are you doing to being in the flow? You're kinking the hose, right? You are setting the intention that it's not going to be fun. I'm not going to like it. I hate parties because I hated parties in the past. So what this does is, as this intention goes back out there, it recreates a very similar scenario. You are saying, I hate parties. And so the universe is going to go, okay, if you go to this party, I will make sure that something happens that creates hate in you to keep that belief alive. Now, all I'm asking, is that you try on a different word. So when I began to say things like, I am open to possibilities, or I would begin a meditation practice, breathing, sitting, going through the grounding, going through the connecting, which I've included in my episodes. You can see them. You can see them there. I think they're even one's grounding. It's called grounding and connecting with music, grounding and connecting without music. So you can check those out. But I do that. Now I'm grounded, connecting, and then I literally do this. I breathe in, I turn my hands over so my palms are facing up, and I say, I'm listening. It gives me chills every time I do it. I'm listening. So this is where I'm going to be a partner with the universe instead of the universe being my servant. I'm going to be a partner. So I'm listening. And that's all I did. That's when things began to change. Different business opportunities showed up for me. Different fun, exciting events were starting to show up all around me that me and the kids, or me and Amy, could all take advantage of. Things were starting to show up. Listen, this simple technique was starting to create change. Now, the very first thing was not so much the stuff outside of me, but the very first thing was that I started to feel better. I started to feel better. Now, if you were in front of me, I'd be like, okay, where in your life are you not feeling very good? And then I would say, are you going with the flow in that area? If your health is not feeling very good, or your relationships are not feeling very good, then my next question would be, are you going with the flow in that area? And the answer is probably no, because our body and our environment is a mere reflection of what's going on inside. If you were to come in front of me and let's say you want to coach, let's say you want to have a conversation, and I go, okay, where in your body are you feeling pain? Emotional pain or physical pain? And then you tell me, and I'm going to say, where in your life are you not going with the flow? Oh, I'm not going with the flow in my relationships. I'm very controlling. I don't let my boyfriend or my husband or my wife or girlfriend do whatever they want. I'm very forceful and controlling and manipulative. And I go, okay, what would happen if you were to let go? What would happen if you were to surrender within that relationship? There's fear right there, isn't there? There's fear and resistance. That's what I help do, is I help you to release that fear just so you can start to feel better. The outside circumstances begin to change after you begin to feel better. That's all we want. That is the bottom line to every single decision that we do. We want to feel better. I want more money because I want to feel freedom, which is better than feeling pressure. I want my knee and my headaches to go away because I want to feel healthy, which is better than feeling like crap. I want my relationships to be amazing because it would feel better than being a victim or feeling like I'm manipulated. The only reason to go with the flow is eventually you want to feel better. Now, here's what we do with our intentions. We set the intention already ahead of, before the physical changes, that we want to feel better. I want to feel happy. I want to be excited. I want to feel free. I want to feel loved. I want to feel connected. Whatever it is for you, we have to set that first. We do that with our words. The first thing is to feel better. Then after that, so the physical environment can change. But we can't change any of that until we make up our mind that we want to feel better. And then what? We want to feel what? What's on the other side of that? If this thing was gone and you felt better, you had more money, you had more fun at a job, you had a great relationship, your health was better, what would it feel like? And dig really deep right there to find the terminology that really lights you up. Because when I sit in that meditation and I say, I'm listening, I get chills, my stomach kind of does a little flip-flop, my heart opens up. That's what you want. You want to try on different words that allow you to really connect with what it is that you want to feel. And it's an amazing feeling. So you're taking your thoughts, some visualization, you're kind of working through some of the problems to be able to to elicit an emotional or physical sensation in your body. I want to know, what does it feel like for you? If this problem, if this pressure, if this if you were in the flow, what would it be like? And to me, it was like freedom, ease, flow, right? And I love those words because they resonate with me. What are the words that resonate with you? Now, these were things that I noticed when I started getting in the flow and kind of surrendering. Now, it takes a lot of trust and faith. It takes a lot of trust and faith in the universal energies. So how do we build that? This was really hard. I remember asking this question. I grew up Catholic until I moved out. Then I was no longer Catholic. And, I on my mom's side, a big Italian family. So, of course, they're all Catholic. And but then I came up here and religion just didn't fit for me. It just didn't explain things well. I was always kind of put in my place every time I would ask a question. I was judged highly for how I dressed and what I looked like. And of course, I'm this major tomboy growing up and didn't really know what was wrong with me when I was growing up. I just knew that something was very different, and that whatever that difference is, don't talk about it with anybody. And that was me being gay. And that was in a Catholic church, you don't talk about that. This was in the 80s. You don't spout that off. That could be a very unsafe space for you. And so I went internal, and I remember being very alone and feeling very alone because it's just not a thing that you did back then. I mean, that was kind of unheard of. And so I remember asking a lot of questions, and I wanted that connection, that spiritual connection. I just didn't know it then. So and I'm in this religious environment, and I remember asking priests and the nuns, and because I went to a Catholic school for the first 6 years of school, and I remember asking them, it's like, how do you create faith when you can't see the thing? Like you don't see God, like there is no universal energy. Like how do you create faith in that? Well, basically, the basic underlying, because those answers were like, oh, Jennifer, just, read from the Bible, or, oh, Jennifer, just pay attention to this, this religion class, or don't ask silly questions, go sit down. I mean, those were the responses I got. And I always had 10,000 questions. The answer really is trusting in you. Trust yourself. Trust in that you were created to live on this planet, to have this human experience, and to create a life that you want to live, and that there's this inner power that is inside you, that is moving through you and is connected to all things. That your life here on this planet is not as a statement of suffering. You are meant to have an amazing life, but you got to go with the flow. You have to let go a little bit. And so that trust, as I developed my own confidence in my spirituality and learning and my knowledge, that I just little by little began to kind of let go. And little by little, things started to show itself. I asked for signs. I was able to connect intuitively, and I would get signs right away. I can connect with people who have passed away, and I get like little pictures and images. And sometimes those things show up in the physical world, so I know that they're there. And it's really exciting, because then that creates this trust and this faith. But really, it's about me creating that trust and faith in myself and the reason I'm here. Now, one of the very first things, if you are in a bad place and you really want change to happen, change can happen very quickly. Trust me, change can happen very, very fast. We have to accept where we are. Accept the present moment. However it is, you have $1.72 in your bank account, just accept that. Because what I'm doing is making it worse, or what I'm doing is keeping it in the space. What's the worst that's going to happen? I need to let go. I need to let go. I remember having $10 in my bank account. I'm getting ready to go to a retreat that I was doing with a friend of mine, and we're going to be gone for the weekend. And I remember thinking, as I'm out there, I got $10 in my bank account. I'm like, something's got to change. Like I need something different. What I'm doing is not working. And I want to be grateful. I immediately turned it around. I want to be grateful for the $10 that's in there, better than having negative in there, better than having no money, better than having no account, better than having no house, no car, living on the street, right? But I need to change it around. What's the worst that's going to happen? It can only get better. And it ended up at the end of the weekend, I got $1,000 paying speaking gig. That Sunday, the lady texted me and it was like, I don't know, 2 weeks out, someone canceled, and can you do the speaking gig? We pay $1,000 on that same Sunday. So things can happen very quickly. And I turned that $10 into $1,000 by just simply changing how I thought about things. It's extremely important that you catch what I'm saying here, because if you want things to change, we must change. We have to look at things differently, and we have to talk about things differently. You can't just get off the phone and turn this podcast off and then immediately go back to complaining about your life. As you complain about it, you're keeping it in front of you. So we need to change the words. Okay, so that's the first thing. Now, after we change the words, I want you to add a visualization to it. I want you to think about, if I'm saying I'm open to possibilities to the universe, and the universe is putting things in my way, what am I open to the possibilities of? What am I saying? What does that mean to me? And do that enough and use those words that really elicit that emotional response that you can start to feel better simply because you're thinking better. It creates an amazing, amazing result. When you start seeing and feeling, you start seeing things changing, you start feeling different, you start thinking different, that is when you add the consistency to it. Allow that to really start lighting you up and adding some confidence and creating more of a platform for you to continue going. Like, hey, I actually do feel pretty good. Even though my situation isn't changed, I do feel pretty good. Then begin practicing that longer periods of time. Because when we close our eyes and we turn all the senses off and we go in and we visualize that, we can go to Disneyland every day and our bodies are thin and fit and sexy and we have a bunch of money in the account and our jobs are amazing. We can do that with our eyes closed. You can get there. But then when you open your eyes, you're like, oh crap, I'm still here. I still have this shitty job I have to go to. I still have no money in my account and et cetera, et cetera. That's when the work becomes the work. Is you have to practice it with your eyes open. You have to go out into the environment and go, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It does not matter that this is the house or this is the job or this is my bank account. It doesn't matter. Or this is the relationship. Things are going to change. We have to switch that ratio over. Instead of it being 10-1 that I'm complaining, it needs to be 1-10 that I'm complaining. Like I'm hardly complaining, but I've really tipped the scales into this other direction and I'm feeling amazing more of the time than I'm not. That is when the scales get tipped and things really start showing up for you. Of course, I'm going to recommend a meditation practice. Really balancing yourself, your physical self with your spiritual self, creating more of the visualization and the energy around it that feels amazing to be there. You're going to look forward to moving into this meditative space because not only are you going to create, but it's going to make you feel better and you're going to start seeing things changing outside of you. Trusting and dreaming. Allow yourself to dream. Open up the floodgates to what could be. Things change all the time. I was a public speaker for like 10 years, and I remember meeting with a friend of mine, and she was speaking for I had been 10 years in, she was 4 years in, and we're talking about doing these keynotes. And I'm like, okay, I think I'm going to up my game here. I want to charge more. I want to travel more. I want to do more speaking events. And she goes, okay. She goes, I've been speaking for 4 years and I charge about $25,000 to be on stage. And she goes, I've been to France. I've been to Australia. I've been to London. She goes, I've done all these speaking events, of course, all over the States. And she goes, and I don't do any events for under 25 grand. And I'm like, holy crap. Like the most I ever made at that point in my 10-year career, this is sad, was $1,000. And I'm like, okay, wait a second. How do I do this? Right. So I remember I went home and I started thinking, I started like visualizing. I'm like, I'm open to possibilities. I'm open to this thing. Like I want to open this door to what's possible for me. And not kidding. It was like a week later, I ended up getting a call from a friend, from other speaking gigs I did, that they wanted to offer me a $5,000 keynote in Virginia. And it was like, I don't know, 6 months from now or 8 months from now or whatever it was. And I'm like, it was amazing to go from where I was to that simply by changing my words, setting the intention, and allowing the energy to just create for me. This is when life gets lively and exciting, like I said in the very beginning, and invigorating, is that I'm allowing the universe to start to unfold things in my life based on my desires, my intentions, my words, and how I am eliciting that emotional state. If I am feeling more grateful than I am complaining about my life, I'm going to start creating a lot more exciting things than if I stay in that complaining space. I know it's hard. Listen, I know it's hard. I'm like the complaining queen. But when I started letting go, and I started letting go of the process, I started letting go of forcing and kinking the hose and really trying to control things, pushing and pulling, because that gets exhausting. I started letting go, and I started opening up to new words, new possibilities, new thoughts, and visualizations. That is when the world began to change. That's what I want for you. So I'm curious to know, and you can answer it. I don't know which platform you're using to listen to this podcast, but underneath there's usually questions. But I'd be really curious if you would comment how you want to change things. What is it in your life that you want to change? And what is it in your life that you want? And what would be the emotion underneath that desire? Is it freedom? Is it health? Is it love? Is it excitement? Is it connection? You tell me. I'm curious. Now, my final question for you, after knowing what you know based on today's episode, is which direction will you choose? Will you get in the river and continue to go upstream, or will you go downstream? Now, ultimately know the choice is yours, but ultimately know that you made the choice. I'd be curious to see what choice you made and what words you're using to really cultivate an amazing life. I hope that you will choose to go with the flow and head downstream. Thank you for listening. Your support means the world to me. I want to let you in on a little secret, a decision that I made. I am never going to have ads during the episodes. This will ensure that the show stays uninterrupted and in the flow. However, to keep the lights on and the tape rolling and allow me to continue dedicating my time and energy to the podcast, I am asking for your support. And to do that, I have introduced a $5 a month membership. Your contribution keeps the episodes coming and ensuring continuous improvement in content, quality, and delivery in bringing you those valuable nuggets. This is not only to support me and the show, but also an investment in your continued spiritual journey. See the show notes below for membership instructions and other ways to donate to this program. Thanks again for listening and for being an amazing support.